millimeters in Jeju. Now for local news. COVID-19 reinfections are rising sharply in South Korea, especially among children in Busan. A local pediatric hospital's daily cases have surged from 1 to 2 to around 10 since summer vacation. Currently, 30% of hospitalized children test positive for the virus. In Busan, pediatric cases have increased 2 to 5 times this month, with hospital admissions up 7.2 times. Experts are worried about potential rises in school cases due to lower immunity and poor ventilation. Busan health authorities are advising mask wearing and good hygiene while keeping an eye on new variants, which have lower fatality and severe case rates. The Busan Biennale 2024 will run for 65 days, starting on August 17th with the theme Seeing in the Dark. For the first time, it will open in August to attract summer tourists. This year, it will be part of the Korea Art Festival, which includes the Gwangju Biennale and Seoul Art Week, running from September 1st to 11th. Visitors can buy a combined ticket for the Busan and Gwangju Biennales at a 30% discount. The opening ceremony will be held on August 16th at 5 p.m. at the Busan Museum of Contemporary Art. Time for international news. On August 12th local time, according to AP News and the BBC, in Leicester Square, London, United Kingdom, a man with a knife attacked an 11-year-old girl and her 34-year-old mother. Both were hospitalized. The child is in serious but stable condition, while the mother has less severe injuries. A 32-year-old man was arrested at the scene. Police confirmed there is no connection between the suspect and the victims. There are no other suspects or signs of terrorism. Bystanders, including a nearby store's security guard, disarmed the suspect and detained him until police arrived. They also provided first aid to the child. This incident follows a similar knife attack on July 29th in Southport, where 3 children were killed at a dance class. Time now for the weather. A heatwave warning is in effect across Busan today. Currently, it is 31 degrees and clear. It will average around 31 degrees Celsius this afternoon. That's all we have time for this hour's news. Thanks for listening. You're listening to BEFM, 부산영어방송.
Your best choice. BEFM, 부산영어방송.
Coming up next is Busan Worldwide with Haeyeon Park. BEFM, 부산영어방송.
With a heatwave advisory in Busan lasting over 20 days, it's reported that fewer senior citizens are visiting the free meal centers. 무료 급식소에서 점심 끼니를 해결하는 어르신들이 극한의 무더위에 집을 나서기를 꺼려하기 때문이라는데요. It's an example of how the climate crisis is especially harsh on the most vulnerable among us, right? So we all need to come together to fill the gaps in our social welfare system more thoroughly. I'm Haeyeon Park, and this is Busan Worldwide. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Busan Worldwide. It's Tuesday, the 13th of August, and we're coming to you live from BEFM 부산영어방송 90.5 in Busan and 103.3 FM in Gijang, Jeongwan, and Noksan areas. Everyone, did you feel the difference in the air this morning? I was taken aback a bit at the cooler breeze, or rather the less sweltering heat. 네, 좀 덜 뜨거운 공기를 마시니까 저도 모르게 와우 이렇게 탄성이 나오더라고요. Well, back to our opening topic. Among the facilities in Busan and local municipalities operated with subsidies, there are 89 places that provide free meals to low-income seniors. But it's reported that many of them who rely on these centers for their lunch are giving up on the free meals because of the extreme heat. For instance, one free meal center in Donggu Chwacheondong usually has around 60 seniors visiting, but recently about 10 fewer people have been coming. And similarly, a free meal center in Dongnaegu, which usually serves about 300 people a day, has seen a drop of 50 to 60 visitors. 네, 극한의 더위에 식사까지 포기해야 하는 상황이 너무도 안타깝다는 얘기들을 하고 있는데요. Considering that many of the older senior citizens have mobility issues and other limitations, it might be worth exploring options like delivering meals to their homes, right? 네, 복지의 사각지대에 있는 분들을 위한 정책들. 기후위기에 더욱 세밀하고 촘촘해져야겠다는 생각을 하게 됩니다. Listeners, thank you for joining us for Tuesday's edition of Busan Worldwide. Let me tell you what we have in store for you for the next hour. Our main segment, The Interview, is coming up next. That'll be followed by Global Buzz Busan, and today's correspondent report is coming in from New Zealand. And as always, our live stream is up and running on YouTube, so you can head on over there and search for 부산영어방송 or BEFM to join us. Feel free to leave any comments on the live stream live chat or send us a text message to pound 9050 for 101 or send us a free message through Kakao Talk by adding 부산영어방송 as a friend. From Busan to the world, Busan Worldwide. 오늘의 더 인터뷰 잠시 후에 만나보겠습니다.
1, 2, 3. Busan, English Broadcasting, English Broadcasting, Busan, English Broadcasting.
Yeah, thank you. And this is Busan Worldwide with Haeyeon Park.
With the summer heat in full swing, many people are seizing the chance to explore our city's vibrant art scene, right? Well, the 2024 Busan Biennale kicks off this Saturday and it runs until October 20th with the theme Seeing in the Dark. It'll be hosted at several venues around the city, including the Busan Museum of Contemporary Art, the Busan Modern and Contemporary History Museum, the Hansong 1918, and the Choryang House. And this year's Biennale is especially noteworthy as it marks the first time in its history that it'll be led by two, not one, but two curators. So joining us today is one of the artistic directors of the 2024 Busan Biennale, Ms. Vera May. So let's give her a warm welcome to our airwaves. Hi there.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Hello there. Welcome to BEFM and welcome to Busan. First, would you like to introduce yourselves to our listeners?
Sure. My name is Vera May. And as mentioned, I'm one of the co-artistic directors of the Busan Biennale. I currently live in London and have been working on this Biennale for a little over a year now and very excited to present to the public.
I see. So you mentioned before that this isn't your first time in Busan, obviously.
No, so since we got appointed in May 2023, we've been coming back and forward over the past year and experienced all of Korea's wonderful seasons. So it's nice to be here in summer.
Aha. Yeah. What would you say is is your favorite season of Korea so far?
I actually really love the winter here. It's very cold, but it's very bright, and it's really nice to kind of walk around with odin and eat like delicious warm food. So
There you go.
yeah,
you already know the charm of the
Yes.
winter odings in
Yeah,
Busan.
exactly.
Well, tell us a bit about, the exhibitions and projects that you've been a part of in the past.
Sure. So I've started my career in New Zealand and have worked in Singapore at a contemporary art centre there, in various parts of Southeast Asia. And in 2016, I moved into the UK and increasingly worked more in Europe. But I guess my first experience kind of working in Korea was in 2011 when I was part of the Gwangju Biennale International Curator course. And I was
see.
still living and working in New Zealand at the time, but it really opened me up to not just the Korean art scene, but the Asian art scene. So I really saw Korea as a wonderful gateway to understand, Asian art and culture, which was really exciting for me at the time.
Ah, gotcha. Well, I heard that, starting from the application stage for the 2024 Busan Biennale, you worked together as a team with your co-artistic director, Philippe.
Yes.
So how did this collaboration come about for the Busan Biennale?
Yeah, so at the time we were working on a project which looked at connections between Asian and African art between between 1900 and 1980. So it was a very expansive historical project, and we saw that the Busan Biennale had an open call, and we were very excited to apply together. So for the last Biennale in Busan, Philippe was an advisor, and he really enjoyed his time getting to know the city. And at the time, the curator, Hae-Ju Kim, was very supportive of us, encouraged us to apply. And we started researching more about Busan and thought it would be a great opportunity to stage a Biennale here.
I see. So when it was decided that you two would be the co-artistic directors, how did that feel?
It was very, very exciting. Obviously, we know it's a huge privilege and responsibility, and one that we take very seriously. And also, we just thought it would be a year of exploring the art scene here, as well as working with artists from all over the world. And we're very excited, and we've had a lot of fun along the way.
Yeah.
We've been very honoured as well to work with an associate curator who's based in Seoul normally, Susie Park, but she spent her university years and formative years living in Busan. So we've been also getting to know the art scene through her as well, which has been wonderful.
Oh, nice. So it's been a beautiful collaboration.
Yeah, very lucky in that respect.
Well, I want to talk about the theme. Well, as I mentioned before, I love the website too, because it really you can feel the essence of the theme as well. The theme of this year's Biennale is Seeing in the Dark. So, just the sound of it sounds profound and poetic.
Oh, thank you.
Tell us about it. How did you decide on it and the story behind it?
Yeah, so it really started out when we were researching Busan, and Philippe kind of found a really wonderful story that emerged from the Bomosa temple, which I believe is on the outskirts of Busan.
Yes.
The story of the Nirvana fish, which is kind of a local story of a fish that kind of ascended to Buddhist enlightenment. And so we were really thinking about Buddhist enlightenment and ideas about enlightenment and how we could connect that to obviously Busan being a port city, like a maritime history. The idea of seeing in the dark is really a visual paradox. You can't see in the dark, but how that might be a metaphor to navigate the kind of times that we're living in right now, which sometimes are often described as dark and gloomy.
Yeah.
And actually we want to say, it's not a kind of depressing moment, actually. Maybe there are ways of being in this moment that is optimistic and that is kind of resilient and shows a history of survival that isn't negative, but one that kind of exposes our human efforts of collaboration.
Yeah. Yes, I think my friends and I often talk about this too when we're, doom scrolling through our phones.
Exactly. Yeah.
There's a lot of atrocities going on, hard things.
Yeah.
So it does at times seem abysmal, but I think it is, art and culture that does get us through.
Absolutely.
And give us enlightenment. So exploring the unknown.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, very much the theme of the time.
Yeah.
And I took a look at the key visual of the
Yes.
Biennale, also referred to as the exhibition identity.
Yes.
It seems to feature a design resembling a ship's steering wheel. And it's this very funky graffiti texture, too.
Yes, yeah.
Tell us more about this.
Yeah, that was really fun to work on with our designer. We wanted to have an aesthetic which wasn't overly designed, if that makes sense. It could kind of look like something that anybody or like a street artist or, could do and look kind of informal. So on the one hand, it is a steering wheel. On the other hand, it also links to the idea of the Buddhist mandala. So it can be interpreted in many different ways.
Yeah.
But we did kind of go for this somewhat sort of punk, informal, aesthetic. But yeah, the ship's wheel is kind of important to touch on the other aspect of our theme, which is this idea of pirate enlightenment, and which, we think a lot of port cities can connect to this idea of histories of people who have either been kind of marginalized or had to kind of escape the life that they had once known and take on a different life. And pirates kind of come under that subgroup, I think.
Yeah. I think for a lot of people, the stereotype of pirates can be, kind of this savage, plundering. But like you said, there is kind of the other side of like the embracing of marginalized people and really a symbol of like diversity.
Absolutely.
So I love that combination.
Thank you. Yeah. So we were very inspired by a book written by the late anthropologist David Graeber called Pirate Enlightenment. And it's about a history of pirates on the east coast of Africa in Madagascar. And he kind of argues that this group of pirates were very experimental in the way that they accumulated different people. So some of them were historically freed slaves, refugees, migrants, economic, opportunists. But I guess a diverse group of people for whatever reason who had to escape the life that they were from and had to find a way to navigate being in this world and surviving together despite differences of language, of culture. And we thought that was quite an optimistic and actually brilliant metaphor for, the ways that different communities have to live in now.
Yeah. And that ties into our identity of our city of Busan because during the Korean War, we became the provisional capital and where all the refugees came together.
Absolutely, yeah.
And of course, the Busan Biennale is famous for showcasing these unique identities and local flavors of Busan through art. Like this, what parts of Busan's characters did you guys highlight in this year's Biennale?
Yeah, so through our venues, I think we have a diverse range of experiences. So the Busan Museum of Contemporary Art, for example, is on a conservation island. So you get to sort of see the beauty of this conservation project in Busan.
Yes.
The Busan Museum of Modern Contemporary History is the former Bank of Korea headquarters. So it's a very symbolically loaded space. And the other two venues are in the Choryang area. One of them is a heritage project, which is a vernacular house built, I think in the 1960s by a family who were interested in kind of modernist style architecture. So there's a lot of a diverse, I guess, physical experiences that you can have when visiting the Biennale and to see the different characteristics of the city in the different neighborhoods.
And when you were selecting the different venues for this year's Biennale, were you a part of the decision making?
Yes, it was a big effort to find very interesting sites that audiences can experience the city and also that the artists could respond to in an interesting way. So, for example, the Museum of Modern and Contemporary History, the renovation of the building, it still retains the old vaults of the bank. So we have the kind of basement floor, and it's kind of like walking into an old bank, but and a site to see artwork. So it was very inspiring as a space to respond to artistically.
Well, I think I'm very curious about this. What kind of works can we expect? And which artists? I'm sure it's all exciting, but do you want to introduce some of the artists and artwork that you're excited about?
Yeah, I mean, what's amazing about working on a project like this in Korea is that Korea has such an amazing and rich and long and diverse history of artistic and craft traditions. So, for example, one of the artists that we're working with is a monk from Tongdosa Temple, and he's creating 2 new 6-meter high paintings for us.
6 meter high. That's
yes,
huge.
yeah. So it's a really it'll be an incredible physical experience to see these big paintings, and he's a very interesting artist as well. So it's amazing to include like a traditional Buddhist monk in the exhibition, as well as contemporary artists. So we don't make a hierarchy between, what is contemporary art and what is not. Really, it's about celebrating the diversity of practices now.
Yeah.
We also have, for example, an artist based in Brussels, Omar Chowdhury, who made a new film called Bandits, which is filmed in this kind of lots of different coloured filters in Bangladesh, and kind of follows a group of people around as they're kind of trying to navigate, life and activity in modern day Bangladesh, which has become very timely at the moment, I think, and it's quite colourful and interesting and kind of loud and bombastic. So there's moments of quiet, but there's also kind of moments of, explosion of joy and, and excitement as well. So
very interdisciplinary.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I noticed that on the website, under each artist, there's a playlist, music playlist too. And can you talk about that? How music is an important part of this year's?
Sure.
Yeah.
So I think music is an amazing art form for the way that it's quite different to the visual arts in the sense that it's something you can hear and you can feel, but you can't necessarily see. So it kind of aligned with our ideas of seeing in the dark. But we would just really love music. A lot of the artists in the exhibition are also sound artists or musicians. So we have a kind of quite lively sound program as well, particularly on the weekend of the 17th and the 18th, which the public are invited to participate in.
Yes.
So, to show the diversity of artistic practices, not only a museum experience is no longer something you just go and see, but it's something that you kind of feel and embody in a different way as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, I'm curious, when you're selecting the artists and the work, like so much goes into thought, into consideration. How was it for this year's selections?
Yeah, I mean, obviously always very difficult. We have 62 artists, I believe, so it's, a huge range of artists to work with. We wanted to make sure they could converse with each other, the work that, could relate to each other in some way in conversation. It doesn't have to be sort of a conversation of consensus, but one where there's kind of, I guess, a call and response in relation to the time that we're living in. Something we did want to highlight was artists from Southeast Asia, in part because we're Southeast Asian artists are not normally shown in big Korean exhibitions, as well as artists from Africa and the Middle East. So we really wanted to give audiences in Busan an experience they might not get to have otherwise, and introduce new artists to this context.
That's so important.
Yeah.
To have more diversity and inclusion.
Yeah,
which is something that, the art world can at times lack.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
And I'm sure, so at this point, the Biennale will start this weekend. And during the duration of the Biennale, like what will be the work that you'll be engaged in?
Yeah,
like just the maintenance of it?
Yes, so we're really gearing up towards the opening at this moment and kind of creating something very celebratory and, very memorable. And, we have a lot of the artists visiting, which is very exciting, and engage in talks programs so people can meet them and, interact with them directly. A lot of performances. As the exhibition duration continues, there's a performance program and talk program that goes over the next few months. And obviously it ends at a similar time of the Busan International Film Festival, which is very exciting because we have a lot of film and video artists, so we think there's a nice complement to existing things in Busan. Yeah.
Now, do you have any tips for people to really enjoy the Busan Biennale this year?
Yeah, I think an openness, I guess, and that some of the artworks, we have a wonderful work by the artist Hongi Yongsuk, where it's completely in the dark. So, you're asked to sort of suspend your senses. And you kind of enter a room and have an experience, which is an art experience, which is...
It requires trust, too.
Which requires trust. It requires using senses other than your eyes. So it's a really, I would say it's quite a, we've tried to create quite a generous exhibition. There's a lot of material, graphic material to look at in terms of, visual pictorial images, but there's also a lot of kind of, I guess, physical experiences as well, which will be quite interesting to experiment with how you understand an art experience. It's not just using your eyes.
I see. So come prepared for a multi-sensorial, visceral experience with an open heart.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank
I'm sure a
you.
lot of our listeners looking forward for this year's Busan Biennale. And everyone, this was today's The Interview with the co-artistic director of the 2024 Busan Biennale, Ms. Vera May. And thank you so much.
Thank you.
All
Thank you so
right.
much.
And I'll be right back after this song break. This is Adore You by Harry Styles.
Walk in your rainbow paradise. Strawberry lipstick state of mind. I get so lost inside your eyes. You believe it. You don't have to say you love me. You don't have to say nothing. You don't have to say you're mine, honey. Walk through fire for you. Just let me adore you, oh honey. Walk through fire for you. Just let me adore you. Like it's the only thing I'll ever do. Like it's the only thing I'll ever do. You're wonder under summer sky. Brown skin and lemon over eyes. Would you believe it? You don't have to say you love me. I just wanna tell you something. Lately you've been on my mind, honey. Walk through fire for you. Just let me adore you, oh honey. Walk through fire for you. Just let me adore you. Like it's the only thing I'll ever do. Like it's the only thing I'll ever do. Walk through fire for you. Just let me adore you, oh honey. Walk through fire for you. Just let me adore you. Like it's the only thing I'll ever do. Walk through fire for you. Just let me adore you, oh honey. Oh honey. Walk through fire for you. Just let me adore you, oh honey. Just let me adore you. Like it's the only thing I'll ever do.
The beautiful landscapes, the beach, the delicious food, I love Tojikukbap, are some of the many things that make Busan a great city to live in. But it is the multicultural society and the warmth of its people that make Busan a really dynamic city. Hola amigos, my name is Jonathan Badillo and I am from Mexico. I arrived to Korea 3 years ago with a one-way ticket and now I study my master's degree at Busan National University. I fell in love with Busan way before even moving here. It all began with a weekend trip for me to realize this was the city where I wanted to live in. I moved here and I realized it was the right decision. From the moment I arrived to Busan, I felt very welcome and as if I was a Busan Saram already. Busan Saram, my God! There is so much going on in this dynamic city that it is so easy to get involved in one of the many activities to promote cultural exchange in Busan. I firmly believe that the greatness of a city lies within its people, which is what makes Busan the greatest city to live in. Global City Busan, we are in it together. This campaign was brought to you by BFM 부산영어방송.
Welcome back to Busan Worldwide on BEFM. I'm your host, Haeyeon. Everyone, thank you for joining us for our Tuesday's edition of Busan Worldwide. Now, let's move on to our segment for all things Busan as we take big leaps towards becoming a global hub city. 글로벌 도시로 나날이 나아가는 우리 부산의 다양한 소식을 전해드리는 시간이죠. Global Buzz Busan. Now, today's buzz is about a promotional booklet created by Busan City receiving an award at an international design competition. 부산시의 시정 홍보책자 부산이라 좋다가 K 디자인 어워드 커뮤니케이션 부문 본상인 위너에 선정되는데요. The K Design Award is one of the top 3 design awards in Asia and is the most recognized design competition in Korea. This year, over 2,600 design works from 23 countries were submitted, and the winners were selected through rigorous evaluation. Busan City designed the promotional booklet called Busan is Good, using our city's new city brand of the same title, and produced it as a functional printed material, earning recognition from the judges for its innovative ideas. The slogan, Busan is good for citizens, was composed creatively by combining the letters in words such as global city, happiness, mice and culture, digital innovation, and zero carbon city. Now, the Busan is good for ... This concept, it's so simple and fun, straightforward design that can be applied in many contexts, right? Busan is good for healing. Busan is good for foodies, good for leisure, the endless possibilities, right? 네, 앞으로도 부산의 도시 브랜드를 높이는데 다각도로 사용될 것으로 전망됩니다. And this was today's Global Buzz Busan. And let's have a song. This is Bruno Mars with Just the Way You Are.
Oh, her eyes make the stars look like they're not shining. Her hair falls perfectly without her trying. She's so beautiful, and I tell her every day. Yeah, I know, when I compliment her, she won't believe me. And it's so sad to think that she don't see what I see. But every time she asks me, do I look okay? I say, when I see your face, there's not a thing that I would change. 'Cause you're amazing, just the way you are. And when you smile, the whole world stops and stares for a while. 'Cause girl, you're amazing, just the way you are. Yeah. Her lips, I could kiss them all day if she'd let me. Her laugh, she hates but I think it's so sexy. She's so beautiful, and I tell her every day. Oh, you know, I never ask you to change. If perfect's what you're searching for, then just stay the same. So don't even bother asking if you look okay. You know I'll say, when I see your face, there's not a thing that I would change. 'Cause you're amazing, just the way you
Welcome back, everyone. That was Bruno Mars with Just the Way You Are. Now, earlier in the show, we had the co-artistic director of this year's Busan Biennale, Ms. Vera May, on the show, and we talked about this year's theme, Seeing in the Dark. In this world that we live in that may seem grim and dark, with all the atrocities and wars and difficulties happening, it's art and culture that can lift us up and get us through enlightenment. So I think it's a very relevant theme and perfect for these times that we live in. The Biennale starts on August 17th, and it goes for 65 days until October 20th. So keep that in mind, and it goes on in different venues throughout the city. Now, let's take another song break. This is Lady Gaga and Ariana Grande with Rain on Me.
I didn't ask for a free ride. I only asked you to show me a real good time. I never asked for the rainfall. At least I showed up. You showed me nothing at all. It's coming down on me. Harder like misery. It's coming down on me. I'm ready, rain on me. Drop, but at least I'm alive. Rain on me, rain, rain, rain on me, rain, rain. I'd rather be drop, but at least I'm alive. Rain on me, rain, rain, rain on me. Living in a world where no one's innocent. Oh, but at least we try. Gotta live my truth, not keep it bottled in. So I don't lose my mind. Yeah, I can feel it on my skin. It's coming down on me. Teardrops on my face. Harder like misery. Better watch out, blame my sins. It's coming down on me. Let it wash away. I'd rather be dry, but at least I'm alive. Rain on me, rain, rain, rain on me, rain, rain. I'd rather be dry, but at least I'm alive. Rain on me, rain, rain, rain on me. Rain on me. Rain on me. Oh yeah. Rain on me. Oh yeah. Rain on me.
Hands up to the sky. I'll be your galaxy. I'm about to fly. Rain on me, tsunami. Hands up to the sky. I'll be your galaxy. I'm about to fly. Rain on me.
At least I'm alive. Rain on me, rain, rain, rain on me, rain, rain. At least I'm alive. Rain on me, rain, 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 rain on me. I hear the thunder coming down. Won't you rain on me? I hear the thunder coming down. Won't you rain on me?
Rain on me.
It's now time for a correspondent report where we connect with our reporters from all around the world. And today we'll be connecting with our reporter based in New Zealand. 오늘은 뉴질랜드의 조정현 통신원과 연결합니다. 통신원님 안녕하세요.
네, 안녕하세요.
네, 잘 지내셨죠? 지금 뉴질랜드에는 겨울이죠?
네, 장마가 끝난 한국은 폭염이 시작됐다는 이야기를 들었는데요. 한국과는 계절이 반대인 이곳 뉴질랜드는 추운 겨울을 보내고 있습니다. 한겨울이라고 해도 기온이 영하로 떨어지는 경우는 드물지만 온돌의 훈훈한 온기를 실내에서 기대할 수가 없어서 사실상 더 추운 느낌입니다. 히터에만 의존해야 하는 요즘 이곳의 화두는 전기세입니다. 도매 전기 가격이 최근 2배로 급등하면서 가정용 전기세 역시 크게 오를 것으로 보이기 때문입니다.
네, 그렇군요. In New Zealand, where the seasons are opposite from us, it's currently the cold winter. Although temperatures rarely drop below freezing, it actually feels colder because they can't rely on the warm floor heating like 온돌 indoors. And this brings us to the first piece of news. These days, with people dependent on heaters, the hot topic in New Zealand is the electricity bill. This is because the wholesale electricity price has recently doubled, leading to a significant increase in household electricity bills. 네, 뉴질랜드 전기 공급은 민영화되어 있는 것으로 알고 있는데요.
그렇습니다. 1990년대 초반 뉴질랜드 정부는 전력 산업을 민영화하고 구조조정을 진행했습니다. 이 과정에서 전력 생산, 전달, 판매의 각 부문이 별도의 민간 기업들로 나뉘었고 경쟁을 촉진하기 위한 시장 구조가 도입됐습니다.
네, 그렇군요. In the early 1990s, the New Zealand government privatized and restructured the electricity industry. During this process, the sectors of electricity generation, transmission, and retail were separated into individual private companies, and a market structure was introduced to promote competition. Now, if electricity rates are set by market prices, it seems difficult for consumers to expect lower rates. 네, 시장 가격으로 전력 요금이 책정된다면 소비자 입장에서는 저렴한 요금을 기대하기는 어려울 것 같은데요.
그렇습니다. 한국의 경우 정부가 전력 가격을 설정하고 공기업인 한국전력공사가 가격을 조정하죠. 그렇다 보니 전기요금은 정부의 정책에 따라 조정되고 가격이 일정 범위 내에서 어느 정도 안정되도록 관리가 되는 거고요. 그러나 전력시장이 민영화된 뉴질랜드에서는 몇몇 대형 전력회사들이 시장 가격을 정하고 있어서 때로는 전력 사용료가 지나치게 높아질 수 있습니다.
네. In Korea, the government sets the electricity prices, and the state-owned company, the Korea Electric Power Corporation, or KEPCO, adjusts them. This means that electricity prices are regulated according to government policies, keeping them relatively stable within a certain range. But in New Zealand, where the electricity market is privatized, a few large companies set the prices, which can sometimes lead to excessively high electricity costs. 그런데 뉴질랜드는 가스 생산국이어서 전기 공급 역시 대부분 가스에 의존해 있다고 들었는데요.
네, 가스 생산국이기는 하지만 세계 주요 가스 생산국에 비해 생산 규모는 상대적으로 아주 적습니다. 더욱이 최근 몇 년 동안 가스 생산량이 감소하면서 에너지 공급에 어려움을 겪고 있고 이는 전력 가격 상승에 큰 영향을 미치고 있습니다.
I see. While New Zealand does produce gas, its production scale is relatively small compared to the world's major gas-producing countries. And gas production has been declining in recent years, causing difficulties in energy supply, which has impacted the rise in electricity prices. 네, 그렇다면 가스 생산을 더 적극적으로 할 수는 없는 건가요?
네, 현재 상황으로는 어렵습니다. 지난 정부는 가스 개발을 제한하는 정책을 추진했고 2018년에는 석유와 가스 탐사에 대한 새로운 면허를 발급하지 않기로 결정했기 때문입니다. 이 정책의 주요 목적은 기후변화에 대응하고 재생 가능 에너지로의 전환을 촉진하기 위함이었습니다.
그렇군요. It's difficult to increase gas production under the current circumstances in New Zealand. The previous government pursued policies that restricted gas development. And in 2018, they decided not to issue new permits for oil and gas exploration. The reason and purpose of these policies was to address climate change and promote the transition to renewable energy. 네, 가스 저장량 부족이 전기료 상승 주요 원인이라면 현재로서는 그 정책에 대한 비판의 목소리가 클 것 같은데요.
네, 맞습니다. 지난 정부의 제한 정책이 에너지 공급의 부족과 높은 전기세 문제에 기여했다는 비판이 제기되고 있습니다. 이전 정부의 가스 개발 제한은 기후변화 대응 목표와 환경보호를 위한 노력의 일환이었지만 현재 에너지 공급 부족 문제를 해결하기 위해 재검토와 조정이 필요하다는 의견도 많습니다.
그렇군요. So there is criticism that the previous government's restrictive policies have contributed to the issues of energy supply shortages and high electricity costs. Although the gas development restrictions were part of efforts to meet the responses to climate change and protect the environment, there's now considerable opinion that a review and adjustment of these policies are necessary to address the current energy supply issues. 그렇다면 전기요금 안정을 위해서 현 정부는 어떤 대책을 내놓고 있습니까?
지난 8월 12일 정부는 최근 급등한 전기 요금 문제를 해결하기 위해서 여러 가지 조치를 검토하고 있다고 발표했습니다. 전력 가격의 투명성을 높이고 가격 조작을 방지하기 위해서 전력 데이터의 공개를 확대할 계획입니다. 또한 에너지 시장에 대한 규제 체계를 재검토하고 필요시 새로운 규제를 도입할 예정입니다. 더불어 전기세 문제를 해결하기 위해 정부의 직접적인 개입 가능성도 논의되고 있는데요. 이와 함께 현 정부는 액화 천연가스의 수입 확대와 재생 가능 에너지의 사용을 늘려서 에너지 공급을 안정시키려고 하고 있습니다.
그렇군요. On August 12th, the government announced plans to tackle the recent spike in electricity prices. They aim to make pricing more transparent and prevent manipulation by sharing more data. They are also reviewing the energy market regulations and may introduce new rules. Also, the government is considering direct intervention to manage electricity bills and is working to stabilize energy supply by importing more liquefied natural gas and boosting renewable energy use. And with that, let's move on to the next news story about mortgage interest rates. 네, 다음 소식 들어보겠습니다. 주택담보대출 금리 관련 소식이네요.
네, 최근 들어서 주택담보대출 및 예금 금리 하락세가 보입니다. 각 은행은 앞다퉈서 금리 인하를 발표하고 있는데요. 전문가들은 주택담보대출 금리가 내년까지 최대 2% 인하될 것으로 보고 있습니다. 즉 현재 금리가 7%인 경우에는 내년에 이 금리가 5%에 가까운 수준으로 낮아질 수 있다는 겁니다.
그렇군요. Recently, there's been a decline in mortgage and deposit interest rates. Banks are competing to lower their rates, and experts predict that mortgage rates could drop by up to 2% by next year. So, for instance, if the current rate is at 7%, it could fall to around 5% next year. 네, 높은 금리의 주택을 구입했던 사람들에게는 희소식이 될 것 같네요.
맞습니다. 주택담보대출 금리의 하락은 기존 주택 소유자와 신규 구매 희망자 모두에게 좋은 소식임이 분명합니다. 금리 인하는 주로 뉴질랜드 중앙은행인 리저브 뱅크의 기준금리 오피셜 캐시 레이트 OCR 변동에 따라 결정되는데요. 현재 OCR은 5.5%이고 인플레이션과 경제 지표에 따라서 조정될 가능성이 높습니다.
I see. The drop in mortgage rates is indeed good news for both existing homeowners and those looking to buy. These rate cuts are primarily influenced by changes in the official cash rate, or OCR, set by the Reserve Bank of New Zealand. The OCR is currently at 5.5% and may be adjusted depending on inflation and other economic indicators. 그렇다면 상황에 따라서 더 낮아질 가능성이 있다는 거네요.
그렇습니다. ASB 은행의 수석 이코노미스트 닉 터플리는 올해 10월부터 OCR 인하가 될 것으로 보고 있다고 했습니다. 사실상 전 세계적으로 높은 금리는 인플레이션 대응을 위한 조치였는데요. 최근 통계청에 따르면 연간 인플레이션율이 3.3%로 낮아졌고 이는 중앙은행의 목표 범위인 1에서 3%에 근접한 수치라고 볼 수 있습니다. 뉴질랜드는 이제 인플레이션을 제어하면서 금리 인하를 준비하고 있고 곧이어 대출자들에게 더 나은 조건이 제공될 것으로 기대됩니다.
네, 그렇군요. ASB Bank's chief economist Nick Tuffley expects the OCR to start decreasing from October. High interest rates worldwide were initially a measure to combat inflation, but recent statistics show that New Zealand's annual inflation rate has dropped to 3.3%, and with inflation under control, New Zealand is now preparing for rate cuts. Now, let's get to our last piece of news. 마지막 소식 듣겠습니다. 오클랜드 남쪽 지역에서 쓰레기 무단 투기자들에게 특단의 조치를 취했다고요?
네, 혹시 네이밍 앤 쉐이밍이라는 말 들어보셨습니까? 범죄나 불법 행위에 연루된 인물의 신상을 공개해서 망신을 주는 캠페인이나 정책을 말하는데요. 뉴질랜드에서 이런 경우가 아주 일반적인 것은 아니지만 최근 자선단체가 쓰레기 무단 투기자들 이름을 소셜미디어에 공개하면서 여러 가지 논란에도 불구하고 어느 정도 성과를 거둔 것으로 보입니다.
네, 그렇군요. Have you heard of naming and shaming, listeners? It's a campaign where identities of individuals involved in illegal activities are made public to kind of embarrass them. While this isn't common in New Zealand, a recent charity took the step of posting the names of illegal garbage dumpers on social media. Despite some controversy, it seems to have had some success. 네, 쓰레기 문제가 많이 심각했던 모양이군요.
그렇습니다. 오클랜드의 시의회는 하루 평균 43건의 불법 쓰레기 투기 신고를 받고 있고 매달 145톤의 불법으로 버려진 물건을 청소하고 있습니다. 특히 오클랜드 남쪽 지역에 위치한 망아리 타운 센터 주변은 지속적인 쓰레기 불법 투기로 골머리를 앓아왔습니다.
그렇군요. The Auckland Council receives an average of 43 reports of illegal dumping every day and has to clean up 145 tons of illegal dumped items each month. The area around Monterey Town Center in South Auckland has been particularly troubled by ongoing illegal dumping. 네, 뉴질랜드 소식은 오늘 여기까지 듣겠습니다. 감사합니다, 통신원님.
네, 감사합니다. 조정현 통신원이었습니다.
And that's a wrap on today's correspondent report from New Zealand. And we're going to slowly close out today's show. Hope everyone enjoyed all of our segments. You can listen to our show again on bfm.or.kr or on the BFM app or on Papang. Busan Worldwide was produced by Kim Yuen, written by Pang Mira, and I've been your host, Haeyeon Park. For the last song, we'll have Champagne Supernova by Oasis. Have a good one, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Special people change. How many lives are living strange? Where were you while we were getting high? Slowly walking down the hall, faster than a cannonball. Where were you while we were getting high? Someday you will find me caught beneath the landslide in a champagne supernova in the sky. Someday you will find me caught beneath the landslide in a champagne supernova, a champagne supernova in the sky. Wake up the dawn and ask her why. A dream, she never dies. Wipe that tear away now from your eye. Slowly walking down the hall, faster than a cat.